News dump. Super Mario stomps the box office. Let me ask you a question here, Mac. Did you go back and listen to our episode from last Friday?
I did.
The way that you were saying super was absurd.
Super Mario.
Super Mario.
Yeah.
One word, Super Mario.
I'm not going to Super Mario. Yeah, well, when we watch Super Mario.
Like, I didn't even pick it
Rolls
up
off the tongue.
when we were, like, initially talking. I picked it up in the listen back. I'm like, he is really hitting that super.
Super Mario.
Hey,
it seems
box office.
It seems like everyone who isn't a 6-year-old shitty critic has liked this movie.
Yeah, to a certain extent. People aren't, going nuts per se over it, but it's a fun kids movie, and to prove that, it made 146 domestic over the weekend, 205 in its 5-day because it opened up on Wednesday. And worldwide, Mac, get this, $377 million.
Massive weekend. And again, it honestly is hard not to like this movie. So all those critics that went out of their way to not like it, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Why do you have a job?
No, but I understand as an adult watching this, and say if you thought this was aimed towards adults, you thought the story wasn't very good. But it wasn't aimed for adults.
Listen, no. They can't pretend. You can't go into that movie pretending that it was aimed for like 30 to 50. You just can't pretend that.
This aired at the Cannes Film Festival and is up for
an
Academy
18-minute
Award.
standing ovation. I understand not loving the movie.
Yeah.
But baseline, that is a very easy movie to like.
So speaking of seeing it with my kid, this movie did get an ovation from the audience when Mario won at the end.
Wow. How about
my son gave it a nice clap. He was sitting back in his chair.
Did he happen to mention, or, obviously he doesn't have the world's greatest word choice at the moment, but
vocabulary.
Did he like certain things more than others? Did he mention anything?
I mean, he's been quoting everything from the commercials for a month, so he just kept on quoting those too. Open the gates, Bowser, the king of the Koopas.
Yeah, you'll end up watching that movie 1,000 times.
I'm gonna see it so many times, and I might have been a little too high dog-wise on it when we gave the review on Friday or Thursday, whenever we talked about it. It's probably closer to like a 32, 8 out of 10, not a B, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I like what you're doing with your hands there. Yeah, I have it 30 out of 40, and I'm comfortable with that.
I think you're stable. I think you're very comfortable. I'm a little bit like, I went in too high.
That's okay, though. That's all right. It happens to the best of us.
I loved it as an experience, though.
I read a review this morning about Air that said it's a good...
Great segue.
It's a good period piece, but not Affleck's best. Now, I think you can argue it's not Affleck's best movie, but I wouldn't describe Air as a period piece.
Kinda. It definitely has that 80s feel to it.
Sure, yeah, but you describe something as a period piece when it's not good at anything else. You're like, it's not, but it's a good period piece. No, it's a fucking great movie.
I wouldn't headline it as a period piece.
No,
I would have
that
it like,
means it's not good.
When IMDb has like the subgenres, I'd have period piece in there.
You only talk about period pieces when there's nothing else to talk about with the movie. You're
you only talk about the lighting when there's nothing else to talk about.
but it's a good period piece. Get the fuck out of here. That movie's fun.
Speaking of Air, it was fun, and it made $14 million over the weekend, $20 million domestic over its 5-day. So it also did very, very well.
Yeah, I feel like that'll get to 100 million. I feel like it's good enough that it'll get there.
I don't know. If its first 5-day only hit 20, I think it might get to like 80. Which is still great, but I don't think it gets to 100.
No, the reviews are high.
A lot, especially for an R-rated comedy.
I feel like when the reviews are that high, though, it ends up staying in theaters for like an extra month,
That's a good point. Didn't Everything Everywhere All at Once eventually get to 100?
No, worldwide, I think it only made like 70 or 80 domestically. But this appeals to a wider audience than that.
It does. News dump. Mac, a possible DC Marvel crossover? Say what? James Gunn said that now that he is the head of DC, of course, that happened months ago, it is now more likely that he is in charge, but who knows? That's many, many years away, and they'd have to establish a DC universe first before discussions even happen.
Yeah, essentially, what he's saying and what would happen, what would have to happen on Marvel's end is Marvel. Like, this is almost like, would you agree to fight this person? Well, you would agree to fight the person if they're your equal or you respect them enough.
Mhm.
If the opponent is lesser than, you don't even entertain it. And currently, DC's nowhere near as mediocre as Marvel has been for the last couple years. It's still worlds away from DC. So DC needs, to Gunn's credit, a solid like 5 years, and then they can entertain this. I also, though, and I'm sure they cross over in some comics at some point.
Mhm.
I don't know what you get out of it by crossing them over.
What if you put Superman and Captain America? Huh?
That's your pitch?
No, I'm just throwing a name at you. I know that one of the big ones in the comics, I'm not sure if it did well, was Batman and Wolverine.
That's interesting. That is an interesting
I mean,
combo.
that's the two most popular people. Just let's do that.
I would be into it if they were like fighting each other, like Marvel versus
No,
DC.
I don't even want actually like the whole universes.
Yes, yes.
So it's just Superman versus all the Marvel characters. We're gonna jump one topic here because
Okay.
I feel like superhero fatigue might expedite this. Like, say if both of these companies go down a path where they keep on, the movies keep on getting less and less at the box office, you might see a crossover because of that.
No, but I hear what you're saying and where the thinking is on that, but it's the opposite. Like, that's like, in my mind, that's like in a failing relationship, someone asking
Yeah,
the other
no, that's
person
like
to
a
marry
last
them.
ditch effort of
Yeah,
like, okay,
horrible.
we just had these Avengers movies that didn't do as well as we thought. Fuck it. Let's have them fight Superman.
Yeah, we are losing it a bit. We'll see how Blue Beetle does. But ultimately, we want to care about the character as a human before we care about them as a hero,
Transition, Mac!
And we're losing that a little bit.
James Gunn was asked about superhero fatigue, and he says that's, let's see here, that's a bunch of nonsense. Wait, no, he said that people being bored is a bunch of nonsense. No, I'm fucking reading this wrong. Read what he said.
Yeah. So Gunn was asked about it, and we talked about this last week or the week before, whatever. And he's saying that people are bored with a bunch of nonsense on screen.
There we go.
Chaos for the sake of chaos, action for the sake of action, just set pieces with no real emotional backing, or as he put it, an emotionally grounded story. And that is speaking to, you need to care about these characters as humans or as whatever beings they are before you put them in peril. I don't care if a character dies if we met the character 10 minutes ago. But if you establish this character, and I think this is why we're a little more into Shazam than most, they did a good job establishing those characters as humans, as kids, and the interlocking there, that family backstory. So you need to do that in order for us to care about the hero. The hero could be as cool as possible. And again, this is why I liked Man of Steel more than most too. Like, yeah, it changed who Superman was, but they gave you a good enough reason to care about Clark Kent before you jumped into Superman stuff.
And this is once again why I am a fan of James Gunn.
Yeah, Gunn gets that. And you saw it in the Guardians movies. That first Guardians movie is a lot of fun and a lot of conversations amongst the Guardians before they ever do anything super cool. And that is so necessary, especially with a team of heroes.
The Suicide Squad as well.
Exactly. Good point.
News dump. Gunn also said that James Mangold is set to write and direct DC's Swamp Thing.
Yeah. Mangold finally confirmed this as well in an interview, and he's also writing a Star Wars movie, Goose. So he's got a lot on his table coming up. I admittedly know absolutely nothing about Swamp Thing. I, however, know a good deal about James Mangold, and that man has not made a bad movie in the last 15 years. So I am all in on anything he touches.
Agreed completely, and I think this is a great choice to, have your movie be something that's an individual property and allow your directors to make good features.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, I wonder what's happening now and with Marvel, since they haven't had misses, but they obviously aren't hitting certain benchmarks that they would have liked to have hit. So I wonder if Feige is taking less or taking more control or taking control away from himself? Because I feel like at this point it's Feige heavy. I feel like we're bordering on where Star Wars was at, where they're relying too much on Dave Filoni and he has too much control.
Yeah, and also with Gunn doing this, he's giving it to a well-known director that isn't going to take his shit.
Exactly. And I also think that because Kevin Feige's not a director, maybe he doesn't see things the same way as, say, a Gunn will, and Gunn will allow the directors to do what they want to do.
Gunn is an artist.
He is an artiste.
Are we a James Gunn fan podcast?
We might be. We never dipped out after those accusations, you know. We stayed.
I know, and I feel like we've never said anything bad about him.
I don't think
we start.
I even
Are
really
we getting paid? Are we getting paid by the big gun people?
By
the gun lobbyists?
Oh, that was pretty good. You worked your way up to it. I liked it.
It took me a long time, but yeah. News dump. Mark. Let's call you Mark. Mark and Drew are back, baby. I'm super tired.
Yeah,
everyone in my house is sick. Everyone's sick.
I drank for 3 days this weekend, so I'm in rare form today.
Speaking of being super confused, we got another trailer for Barbie, and I don't know what's happening.
I have to admit, I'm getting less excited because there's even less clarity on this movie than there was before. I am still in on Marge Bob Gosling and Greta Gerwig.
A great cast.
However, I can't figure out what's supposed to be real and what's supposed to be like a farce. I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea.
Because my wife saw the trailer and she's like, it's obviously a fantasy, which then made me think, is someone in a coma?
No, we're not.
Because it feels like some kind of a weird fever dream, right?
We're not doing Dream State Barbie. That's not what we're doing.
Maybe it is.
I still feel like it's probably going to be like, what's that movie with Amy Adams where she's the princess and she comes out of Fantasyland?
Enchanted?
Yes. I feel like this might be where that's going. That's what I'm picking up on.
News dump. Finally, we are going to be getting Shrek 5. Title, we assume, is 5 Shrek.
5 Shrek rolls right off the tongue. Again, I still don't know if I've seen Shrek 4 or Shrek 3.
So you mentioned that, and I think what they might do is a bit of a requel going back to Shrek 2, the last time that it was super popular.
Okay.
Because these last two movies did make decent money, but I feel like they're going to say, no, let's get back to, the last time people loved these movies.
I'd be okay with a animated requel. That's interesting. It's an interesting concept.
But saying that, you got to keep Shrek's kids. So maybe you keep some of the stuff from Shrek 3.
They look like little Shreks to me. Little
Shreks look like little Shreks to Mac.
I was quoting the Turtles trailer.
I know. I knew exactly what you were quoting. By the way, movie theaters need to cut the shit with these movie trailers.
How do you mean?
There. Okay, it's a 90-minute Mario movie.
Yeah.
And we got 25 minutes of trailers.
Yeah, that's
I'm
not great.
paying to be there. So you know what you should do? Not show me any trailers.
No. Tell me the real start time of the movie. If it's 1:15, 1:30, play all of the trailers leading up to that. Do not start playing trailers at 1:30, the designated start time of the movie. I have a finite
time before my son says, get me out of here.
Yeah, that's true. And we are spoiled a bit too, because when we go see screeners, we get no trailers. The movie just fucking starts. It's amazing.
But 5 Shrek.
5 Shrek.
The Shrekening.
5 Shrek. It sounds like someone's coughing.
The Shreksual Awakening. News dump. Dave season 3 has premiered, and I'll say this, Mac, I think it's better so far than Dave season 2.
I have not watched it yet. I think it's 2 episodes in, right?
It is,
Am I right about that? I've heard nothing but good things. Nothing but great things about the first 2 episodes.
I will say that it's a lot funnier than last year. I think last year lost sight of the fact that it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah, that might be part of it. Or in the grand scheme of things, we might look back and be like, you know what? It was necessary to move the characters to certain points. But we both agreed on season 2 that it just was not that funny.
No, but season 1 was great. I loved season 1.
How's my man Gaeta doing so far?
Gaeta's doing good. And what I like here is that Dave's on tour and they're actually getting back into him rapping.
Right. Yeah.
Which that's point. Kind of the fun of the show.
What he is. Yeah. Has there been any fun guest stars so far?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right.
Maybe there was. I don't know.
Okay,
News dump.
Okay.
Renfield out this Friday.
I am still cautiously optimistic about the movie, but I am less enthused than I was like 2 months ago.
Going into it, what is your hot dog expectation?
I'm well, hoping and expectation is two different things for me. So I'm hoping for like at least 32, 33.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably expecting like 30, 29, 30.
I think I'm expecting 30 to 32, but I'm hoping for 35. But like I've said to you many of times, I crave comedy.
Yeah.
And this at least looks like it's attempting comedy.
I will admit though, this movie in my mind has close to 40 dog potential. Like if they nail everything it sets out to do, it could get there.
After seeing that second trailer, which granted, I do want as much Cage as possible, some of the action was like, are we going to be able to hit 40?
No, I agree on that, but I mean like the concept, the premise of this movie,
Yes.
the idea and what's going on could push the bound. Like, and then we talked about this a little bit with Air, right? Going into Air, I knew that had no chance of being a 40 dog movie. I'm not ruling that out with Renfield.
But I also think if we get too much of Nick Holt punchy kicky, that's not really what I want from this.
Yeah, no, that's true, but I mean it's a Nicholas Holt movie.
I know, but I want, how long's the movie?
I don't know actually. If it's
throw a runtime at me.
Oh, you know it?
No, just guess a runtime.
111 minutes.
If it's 111 minutes, I want 100 minutes of Cage going.
Him chasing cats.
Holt can have the other 11 minutes and do whatever the fuck he wants with it.
I'm gonna look it up right now, Goo, because I am interested in the Renfield runtime.
Give me that Renfield runtime, baby. My guess is 120 minutes.
93 minutes, Goo.
Let's go.
93 minutes on Renfield.
So that might not be a good thing. Generally, when something is that short, it means that they might have shot something longer and they said, this doesn't work.
That's true. I think a movie that short, though, will be more willing to forgive some things.
No, I will. I like short run times, and I'm in on this. And if that was their goal at the beginning, was to tell a short story, a 90-minute story, then cool. But generally, when movies are that short, that's not a good sign.
We might be entering a renaissance here, though, of sub 100-minute movies like it used to be.
If we go back to the 90-minute movie, which the reason why they did that, Max, scientifically, when you dream, it feels like it's 90 minutes.
I don't even understand how that's possible.
Well, math.
What did they just interview people when they woke up? How long did you think that was?
No.
90 minutes.
They walked around a mall, asked 100 people.
Hey, your dream last night. Well, how long would you say? 90 minutes. Wow. So many people said 90 minutes.
It was a question on the last Family Feud. 37% of the people said 90 minutes. News dump. Star Wars.
Star Wars. I'm glad you separated this from everything else, Goo.
Yes.
We got what is it called? What do they call it these days?
Celebration Weekend? Question mark?
Whatever the fuck they call it. The main hitter, the heavy hitter, the main prize here, Goo, was the Ahsoka trailer, which we find out is officially coming to Disney Plus in August. We still haven't got the exact date yet, but I'm assuming a Wednesday in August. And it was a great trailer. Great trailer. If I sound a little down on this, it's still because I think The Mandalorian is absolute dog shit right now, but it is setting up stuff in this show. So we jump back into Ahsoka. So the end of Rebels, Goo, if you don't know, I'm sure I've told you before, but for anyone at home that doesn't know or doesn't remember, at the end of Rebels, there's like a sort of a post-credit scene that's several minutes long. Ahsoka goes to Sabine to meet up, and they set off to go find Ezra and Thrawn, who in the spectacular events of the finale take off and they're gone together. And Ezra leaves his lightsaber behind. Sabine has his lightsaber, which we see in this trailer. So I think we're going to essentially pick up roughly where Rebels leaves off, maybe a year after, but close to what those characters were at the end of Rebels. And Admiral Thrawn is an awesome villain, and he's awesome because he's not a soup. He's not a force user. He's just an incredibly smart, like, war general. And that's almost scarier to these people. He's always one step ahead. Ezra is like one of the few remaining Jedi in this era of Star Wars. He was raised by Kanan, who was voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr., who I do think we're going to get as a Force ghost
Oh,
in this show. He dies in Rebels.
I was in Summer Catch.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Harrison Dula is going to be awesome. She's always great. I don't know. So you watched Rebels or you didn't watch Rebels?
I did not watch Rebels.
Okay, so apparently Thrawn is being played by Rebels' Lars Mikkelsen, which I don't really care for the double dip there. I'd cast someone else.
It seems like they're trying to do it with everybody, though.
Maybe. I guess yeah. They just, but like with Jar Jar, for example, one was CGI, one wasn't. So I don't think Thrawn's going to be CGI. I hope he's not. He's just like a blue person.
Yeah, and
roughly.
People aren't blue. You know that, right?
But I am stoked for Ahsoka. But I am drawing a line in the sand, Goo. If Ahsoka is disappointing, I'm done. I'm done with Star Wars. I'm out. Because Ahsoka has been Dave Filoni's baby for 20 years now. When they created the Clone Wars cartoon, it was in part to introduce this character, Ahsoka, in between the events of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And since then, she's operated outside of our main timeline, really. She pops back up in Rebels, which you will now. She obviously popped up in The Mandalorian, and we'll see her in this show. But they have given full control to Dave Filoni now. That was one of the major announcements here. He essentially is stepping in front of Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy's still there, but Filoni's going to have final say on things. But Goo, as we've seen with this season of The Mandalorian, the deeper Dave Filoni gets involved with stuff and is more in charge of stuff, seemingly the worse it gets. There are very high highs when he hits a home run. It's an absolute grand slam out of the park. But he cares so much about the dumb shit in the Star Wars universe, and he shares it with us. We do not care. He's essentially a walking Star Wars encyclopedia. I'm not arguing his knowledge on it and what he knows about Star Wars. His issue is displaying to us, everyone that's not the 8% of Dave Filoni guys, telling us the shit we want to see and have fun with. He cares more about giving us droid stories and shit like that. He wants to round out all these fringe edges of the Star Wars universe, and it's very frustrating. And so I hope now with it, I don't have any hope that it's going to go well with Dave Filoni at the front.
Also, Daisy Ridley is back as Rey, set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. The movie will see Rey attempt to rebuild the Jedi Order as a Jedi Master.
Daisy Ridley deserves this because of the debacle that was that last trilogy. I just don't know if I need this. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I really want any more straightforward Jedi stories at this point.
Oh, all I want is Jedi stories. I don't want anything other than Jedi stories.
But is it going to be too much of like, hey, I'm kind of like Luke Skywalker was for a while, and now I'm going to think, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this?
But again, Goo, when you stray from that, you end up getting to these
saying like straightforward Jedi things. Like I like, like with The Mandalorian, and it's really season 2, where you have the Jedi stuff, but then you have other things going on.
Sure, I want them to be involved. What I don't want is Star Wars. Oh wait, hold on. Going back, I was thinking of. I'm not thinking of Rebels. What's the show that just came out last year?
The one with the Misfits.
What the fuck was the name of that show? Andor. I was thinking, sorry. So Grand Admiral Thrawn is being played by the guy that voiced him. Is that what they're saying? I'm in on that. So. I was thinking they were talking about Andor. I don't want shows like Andor, Goo. I don't care about human beings in the Star Wars universe.
You could have stopped after human beings. You just don't care about us.
I want the powers. I want the lightsabers. I don't give a fuck about the guy on the ship running around trying to get a message to someone else. I don't care about that shit. We have a million other stories and a million other worlds that tell those stories. I want the lightsabers. I want the Force users. I want the Sith. I want all of that. So I'm all in on Jedi stuff. And so when you give me an episode or a season about droids, I get upset. I get mad, Goo.
What if the droid is silly?
And
I like silly droids.
You're the biggest droid hater there is.
I like silly droids.
You and Din Djarin, top 2 droid haters in the universe. So
K2SO is my second favorite Star Wars character in all of the universe.
I am cautiously pessimistic about Dave Filoni and what he's doing.
Speaking of Dave Filoni, He's also working on a movie right now. It was announced, and people expect it to be the grand finale for The Mandalorian.
How many television shows, Goo, that have finished with the movie have knocked it out of the park?
I thought you were singing the song for Rent for a second.
Would the answer be none?
The Simpsons?
In my mind, the answer is none, Goo. It's zero. So that worries me. I also feel like that's part of the reason why we are in a bit of a holding pattern in The Mandalorian season 3 right now.
Yeah.
Because nothing's happening, and it seems like maybe they're now saving it.
Guys,
for
help
the
us
movie.
out. What was the best movie that was the capper on a TV show? Because that's a great question.
It's a great
Has there
question.
ever been one?
Well, like I think of El Camino with Breaking Bad, but that's more of a companion.
I mean, there
piece.
were like 3 Brady Bunch movies that came out after the show. They weren't necessarily cappers; they were just continuations. And then they spun off to the Brady Brides.
My question is though, what show was a show that people generally liked?
Yeah.
And then the conclusion was the movie, not a continuation or a side piece, but the finale was a movie. Where did that happen and was a success?
All I know is this: how the fuck did Wally get Marsha? Dude's a dummy.
I'm just so out on Dave Filoni at this point, and it amazes me that no one else sees what I'm seeing.
Couple other quick notes here, Mac. Donald Glover, I believe, was doing an interview with GQ? Was it one of those? It was one of those ones where he just kind of talks to himself for a while. Sure, he mentioned that he would still love to do Lando again if the story's good.
I'd be in on that. He was a very good Lando.
Tales of the Jedi season 2 has been confirmed.
Sneaky, one of the best things they've done in the last few years. 15-minute episodes, 20-minute episodes, kind of rounding out some of the Jedi we have seen in the past.
Jedi Survivor, which sounds like it's right up your alley. You love Survivor. That trailer came out, and it's out on April 28th.
Speaking of Survivor, the CBS television show hasn't been great last couple seasons.
I'm sorry.
Kind of losing steam.
And Taika Waititi's movie is still apparently a go.
Jedi Survivor, I don't know if I'm going to get. I never finished the other game. The trailer was pretty good, though. I'm not going to lie. Then they also threw the little tidbit in this weekend that Taika Waititi's movie is still...
Which sounds like it might not be a go. That might not happen.
But then they didn't give us any information about it.
Oh, actually, speaking of almost everything here outside of Ahsoka, none of this stuff might happen. We probably should have started with that because Star Wars likes to give us news and then, never mind.
Yeah, well, it seemed like they're shifting from what they announced, 3 years ago was the last massive one.
We're doing TV shows. We're not doing movies. And now this time, we're doing movies.
This seems like it's essentially, for lack of a better term, like the Filoni-verse of Star Wars. They're going to give Dave Filoni full oversight of all this stuff that they announced. So maybe he'll knock it out of the park. Maybe he'll crush it. I feel like he's going to line out to short, though.
Sounds like
he'll make hard contact, but it'll be an out.
Sounds like Mac is calling it the Baloney-verse.
Oh.
That is the 20th time that I have rhymed Filoni's name with baloney on this podcast, Mac. Whenever you bring him up, I'm going to say baloney.
I like it. Davey Baloney.
News dump.